Our guest today is John Valentine, owner and CEO of Valentine Insurance and a co-founder of the Catfish Challenge. Valentine Insurance is an independent insurance agency in Cambridge, Ohio, and the Catfish Challenge is a basketball tournament between the Cambridge Bobcats and the John Glenn Little Muskies. Thank you for speaking with me, Mr. Valentine. Let's start with your insurance agency. Can you tell me a little bit about how you started this business?
I guess growing up was always interested in finances, stock market, things like that. Kind of envisioned myself being my own boss. In what capacity, I didn't really know, but was always interested in the financial aspect of things. And while in college, had an internship with John Hancock Financial Services, which is basically initially a life insurance company. So I sold life insurance for a few years with interest of getting into more of the financial planning. The more I got into it, the more I realized the financial planning aspect is nice, but from a more secure nest egg standpoint, everybody needs insurance too. So I kind of fell into it that way and learned the property and casualty insurance business and realized that was a path that I wanted to pursue.
What is some aspects of your insurance agency that separates you from competitors in the area?
This is year 28 of me. I know I don't look that old, but 28 years of being in the insurance business. But what we do here is, because I've been in the business 28 years, I've been able to see different aspects in different areas of the business. I've actually worked for insurance companies, which I think was a big benefit for me to learn the ins and outs of the industry before I actually started on my own. But what we do here differently at Valentine Insurance is we operate as an independent insurance agency, which means we work with a whole bunch of different companies. So it's the exact opposite of a traditional agency that a lot of people are familiar with. The names that you hear all the time and they tell you how great they are on TV, State Farm, Allstate, Nationwide, those kind of companies are captive agencies, which means as an insurance agent, the only products that they can offer their customers is that particular company. If I'm a State Farm agent, the only products I can give you are State Farm products. So from a business owner perspective, you're quite limited in what you can offer your customers. So the exact opposite is true of what we do. So we're an independent agent. So we have contracts with 12, 15 different companies. So if one company doesn't quite fit your situation, we've got 10, 12 other ones that might. Insurance companies change and they fluctuate just like any other business by changing rates or changing coverages and those kind of things. So from a business owner's perspective, if I have a company that makes all of these changes and I can't do anything about it, my hands are tied and therefore I may lose a customer. So being an independent agent really gives me the flexibility to offer my clients a lot of different options. So that's really the main thing that differentiates us from everybody else.
You said something that was directed towards working for other companies. And then I was reading through your company values, and it's clear that your clients come first. From working with these other companies, is that something that you've seen that was lacking in those other companies that you wanted to make sure this was something that you needed?
So that's a huge part of it. As an independent contractor, I'm not an employee of those insurance companies. I don't have to do everything that those particular companies want me to do. So my customer is the person on the street, the person that's buying the vehicle, the person that's buying the new car, the new boat, those kind of things, the person that's starting the business. That's my end customer. If I don't take care of that end customer, it's going to hurt my business down the road because they're going to tell somebody else to tell somebody else. So we have to be able to take care of those basically that are my customers. And those captive agents don't have that flexibility. They have the insurance company's priorities in mind, not the end customer. If that makes any sense. So I don't have to answer to those companies. So I really have to build that trust with my client for them to be able to trust me to be able to take care of their insurance needs.
I mean, it affects a bunch of businesses and it has been. But how did COVID affect your business and how did you overcome some of the challenges and what did you learn?
We've learned a lot from COVID, not just from a business perspective, but just overall from a country standpoint. But I won't bore you with a lot of political information, but how it affected our business. Obviously, there were some direct correlations with COVID because people weren't out and about as much. So they weren't stopping in to talk to you or to ask you about something there weren't as many people buying homes because they weren't out doing things, vehicles, those kind of things. So from the day-to-day standpoint, the business had slowed a little bit. New business, I should say. So there weren't as many new cars, new houses, new boats and toys and things like that people purchasing. So the worst part of it was, from a consumer standpoint, money was a heck of a lot tighter, because people were not allowed to go to work, which is crazy to me. They weren't allowed to make money. So therefore, they didn't have discretionary income or extra money to be able to purchase new cars and those kind of things. So the day-to-day operation was a little bit slower, but our business is also built on retention. So retention meaning, you're my customer today. I make a one-time commission by servicing your account today, but every year or every 6 months or whatever that you continue to be my customer, I continue to get that commission. It's not necessarily built 100% on new customers coming in the door. Old customers, as long as they stay with you, you continue to get paid. So that retention money is kind of a little nest egg to be able to continue to feed profit into the business. But yeah, the daily operations were a little bit slow. Luckily, in our particular area, not everybody fell into that trap of believing everything that we were told about COVID. So people were smart enough to see through some of that. So in our particular area, it didn't slow down nearly as much as it may have in some bigger cities.
So you say that it's not as bad as major cities. Was that a fear of yours when this whole thing hit?
Sure it was. I mean, it's a fear from a business perspective. You have the same kind of fears that everybody else does, but a little bit more, knowing that I have a family to take care of and I have bills just like everybody else does, and a mortgage and everything else. You know, individually, my income is based upon what we do in our business. If our business is slowed down, then obviously I'm going to have less money in my pocket. Again, just like everybody else on the street. So yeah, it was a scary time for us professionally and from a business perspective, but obviously we were just confused. We wanted the correct information, just in population in general, from a health standpoint too. There were a lot of concerns, and it was a crazy time for sure.
Along with running this insurance company, you also created a basketball tournament called the Catfish Challenge. I understand that the tournament consists of games from, is it third grade to varsity?
Correct. Yep.
And then it allots different points to each grade and whatnot. Can you tell me a little bit more about how the tournament is designed and what inspired you to create it?
The Catfish Challenge was really the brainchild of Josh Adams. Josh was a former player for John Glenn High School. At the time, Josh ran the youth programs at John Glenn, and I basically ran the youth programs in Cambridge. And he had approached me at one point, said, "Hey man, I got this idea. I don't really know what to do with it, but it's an idea. Here's kind of what we're thinking." And so we put our heads together and came up with the Catfish Challenge. So basically it's an all-day basketball event, 9 different games between John Glenn and Cambridge. The third graders play each other, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and all the way up through middle school, freshman, JV, and varsity. So it's just a great opportunity for the community to be able to watch the youngsters and what they're going to see in the future from Cambridge and John Glenn from a basketball perspective, and why it's a neat idea, but it also makes it more popular because of the success that we've had in our particular area from a basketball perspective. Cambridge alone has been to 5 state tournaments and 1 state championship, but to get to the state tournament's pretty tough to do, and Cambridge did it 5 different times. And so from a success standpoint, we had community buy-in, and a lot of people around the state know Cambridge basketball. And we also had, at the time, when we created the Catfish Challenge, at the time we had the number 3 scorer in all of Ohio high school history in Gino Ford. So a lot of success was built from Cambridge. On the flip side, John Glenn had a heck of a lot of success too, not necessarily from a state tournament standpoint at the time, but a lot of regionals and a lot of success. And they also had the number 2 scorer of all time in the state of Ohio. Actually, the number 1 for a long time too, in Jay Burson. So our particular area has always been really successful from a high school standpoint with basketball. The community was certainly going to buy into this program. So what we did was, again, we put our heads together, and you mentioned it there, that we put together kind of a point value system. So because we have 9 different grades, we wanted the emphasis to be on the varsity game, the high school kids, but we wanted the youth to be able to take part in it. At the time, my kids were all playing in the youth program, so we wanted them to buy into it somehow and feel like they were part of it. So what we did was we assigned point values to each game. So each youth game, 3rd grade through 6th grade, was worth 1 point. Middle school games and freshman games were worth 2 points. The JV games were 3 points, and the varsity game was worth 5. So again, our emphasis was on the varsity contest. We wanted the challenge to come down to that last game, pique everybody's interest, to keep them there, to get more people to be involved in the varsity contest. And every year that we've done it, I think 2013 was our first year or something like that. Every year that we've done it, it's come down to whoever wins that varsity contest. So it's worked out exactly the way we wanted to, even though, for example, Cambridge might win 5 out of the 4 games, but the point value kind of evens itself out and puts the emphasis on that varsity game. So that's kind of how it's worked out. It's been a lot of fun. It's an all-day basketball event. So if you're in a community and you want to see some really good basketball, you can pay a one-time gate fee and be able to attend all the games at one location. So whoever hosts the varsity contest that year hosts the Catfish Challenge all day long. So, for example, this year it was at Cambridge. So, the 3rd graders all the way up through the varsity game, all of those games were at Cambridge. You pay 1 gate fee to get in and see a lot of good basketball all day long.
Having played in this tournament, I can say that it does have a good impact on the kids and it gives them a good playing environment. How do you think this has affected the communities as a whole, both Cambridge and John Glenn?
As I mentioned, that both communities are really good. They support their high school sports, number one, but certainly basketball. So the community has had a lot of fun with basketball teams from both schools over the years. We're going to so many regionals that John Glenn did. In fact, they even won a state tournament a few years ago. The community was bought in to begin with. Our goal was to get them to see the younger kids and get the younger groups to kind of understand the history of Cambridge and John Glenn basketball. So that's why we wanted to incorporate the young kids into it because, and you can mention that you were a participant in it. You probably didn't even know who Jay Burson was growing up because Jay, he was the number 1 scorer in the state of Ohio. He went to Ohio State. He played in the pros, for goodness sakes. And he was a heck of a player, but the younger generation doesn't even know who he is. So our goal was to get those younger kids involved and see why we're doing this. And what we also did this year was our first year. Unfortunately, Josh Adams passed away 2 years ago. Last year was kind of lost. Actually, the last couple of years were kind of lost because of COVID. We wanted to continue this Catfish Challenge, basically for all those reasons we mentioned before, but also in Josh's honor too. So what we did was we created a scholarship opportunity for 1 player from each team. So again, from a community standpoint, this is not just a basketball event and to go play games. Originally, that's kind of what it was designed for. Well, now we've also incorporated the community because now we're giving away scholarship money. The Josh Adams Memorial Scholarship presented by the Catfish Challenge, a $250 scholarship was awarded to a player from each team this year. So, and that could not have happened without our community involvement. Business partners in the community stepping up and making donations, sponsoring the event. We also provided t-shirts for all of the varsity players, different colors. Of course, I think John Glenn's were maroon and Cambridge were blue. So they got to warm up in those. We had those t-shirts for sale, obviously for the younger groups as well. Again, to raise some money to be able to provide for those scholarships. So from a community standpoint, it's a neat event if you love basketball anyway. But now that we've added the scholarship opportunities, it'd be great to be able to, and I think we will over time, build those scholarships up to be $500 scholarships or, one $500 and one $250 per team. We're looking forward to getting the community involved even more and provide those opportunities for kids.
We've been talking about all the successes that have been going on. There must have been some downsides in this journey. Can you tell me about some of the failures and what you have learned from them?
And you'll find throughout your career and throughout your life, you're going to have a heck of a lot of failures. And that's no different from a business perspective either. From particular failures, there's been a lot. I guess what I've learned from those failures is a lot of different things. It's number one, you have to have faith and trust in what you're doing. and faith and trust in yourself and your abilities is a big one. And what I've learned too is not to really, I'm kind of control freak. I like to be in control of situations for a couple reasons. Number one, I feel like if I'm in control of something, I know it's going to get done the right way. And I know it's going to be completed to the way I want to see it. But also, if it doesn't work and I do fail, I don't want to be able to blame somebody else for that. I want it to be my fault. Okay. And I know we've taught that to kids over the years, coaching and those kind of things. You want to be the person with the ball in your hands at crunch time. You want to be the person that everybody's relying on. It's kind of the same thing too. So I don't want to have to blame others for not succeeding. And sometimes that hurts. Failures are going to happen for sure, but it's how you react to them and how you respond to them to make sure it doesn't happen again really helps you grow and get stronger as a person and as a business.
What is the most important thing through both the successes and the failures that you have learned?
A couple things is from an entrepreneurial standpoint, whatever you do, be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, it's going to be a lot more difficult to succeed. If you're passionate and you're dedicated and it's something that you enjoy, then you're going to have a heck of a lot better opportunity to succeed. So a couple things would be passionate about what you do, and hard work always leads to success. If you're not working hard at anything that you're doing, why are you doing it? You're not going to be successful. You might be able to get by. You'll be okay. You might get lucky once in a while. But if you're working hard and you're putting your best foot forward every time and busting your butt, chances are you're going to have a heck of a lot more success than somebody else. And what I've tried to instill, and really in myself and kids too, is find something that you enjoy. If you enjoy going to work every day, then it doesn't feel like work. You can have a career for 30 years doing something, and if you hate it, then you're really not going to be successful. You're not going to feel good about yourself. You're not going to feel good about what you're doing. So it doesn't feel like a job if you really enjoy what you're doing. Be passionate about what you're doing and educate yourself. Be educated. Just because you're not in school anymore doesn't mean that the learning stops. There's always learning from situations, learning from other people, and learning from your competitors is something that I've learned a lot from too. You see the way that somebody does something and it doesn't make sense. It makes you question. But sometimes people do things the right way too, and you can learn from those experiences. So be passionate, work your butt off, and educate yourself. Do something that you really enjoy and it won't feel like work.
What is something that you would tell a young aspiring entrepreneur to help them on their journey besides putting their best foot forward and doing what they love?
Really, that's the most important part. If you have something that you're passionate about and you work hard at it, chances are you're going to be successful. But what I would also say is you want to be educated as much as you can, so educate yourself. But take advice and take counsel from people who are more successful than you. You never want to take advice from somebody that you don't look up to, or that somebody that's not as aggressive as you are in your ideals or what you want to do. So I've always said to take advice from people who you aspire to be, people that are up the ladder, people that you want to emulate, people that have already shown success, because those are the people most of the time that have worked hard for it and they've learned along the way. All the challenges that you're going to run into along the way from being an entrepreneur, they've already lived through that, and they may have a couple nuggets that might help you so that you don't stumble and make some of those same mistakes. You're going to stumble, and that's the great part about it. You're going to fail, but learning from those failures is what makes you stronger and makes you a better business person and a better person in general. So I think that taking advice from those people that you trust and the people who are in a position where you want to strive to be would be real important.
Thank you very much for participating in PioPitch podcast, Mr. Valentine. It was great having you.
Really enjoyable on a Monday morning.